thanks everybody for coming. We've got a lovely bit of things that Sasha's been working on to share with everybody. I will very quickly turn it over to Sasha and to our amazing First Voices development team, who also have some things to share about the great work that they've been doing. But yes, first, as always, I would love to acknowledge the wonderful Saanich First Nation and express our deep, deep gratitude for being able to work on their land. Our office is still located on the Tsartlip Reserve. So if anybody hasn't yet been to our new office and wants to swing by and check it out, please do come and visit. If you want to come and visit while Sash and I are there, maybe aim for a Wednesday, and let us know. We're always happy to have some guests and show some folks around. Make you a nice cup of coffee. I'm actually not at the office today. I am once again calling in from home. Home for me is in the territories of the Lekwungen-speaking peoples. Today, that would be the Songhees and Esquimalt First Nations. Here in Victoria, where it is still cloudy, got a little bit of rain. Glad to see it. Means I don't have to water the garden just yet. Thanks everybody for joining. Maybe I always ask, and many of you chime in, but feel free to slap in the chat there where you're calling in from, how spring is springing where you're at, and what the world looks like. And with that, I will just also do our video housekeeping. Since it's been a whole quarter since we've been here, it's maybe fair to remind everybody about all these things. This is definitely meant to be a conversation that we all take part in. So please do chime in if you have something to contribute. We love anything that anybody has to share within the scope of our topic. We do have until 12:30, or sorry, 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock, so an hour and a half. So let's just be mindful of that amount of time. If you aren't speaking, please do have your microphone on mute. And if you want to chime in, you could either use the chat or that raise your hand function there, and we'll happily recognize your contributions. We are recording. This is, as always, we put this up on our First Voices knowledge base. I hope people find a great deal of value in that tool. I will probably try to, corner some of you at some point and ask how much value you get out of it. But that's where you'll be able to find these recordings. And so please do decide whether or not you'd like your lovely faces to be a part of those recordings. You can have your camera on or off. Either way is great. And please, no surprise screenshots. As I say, it's all going to be saved. So if there's something that you're really keen on reviewing or having a look at, you can do that through the First Voices or the Digitization knowledge base. Yeah, so that's it. That's all the bits that I have to say for housekeeping. And I think that means I get to turn off my microphone and hand it over. So I'll do that. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Hi, everyone. I will just give us a quick overview of what we're going to do today, and then I'll pass it on to the First Voices team. We're going to start with some updates from them about new functionality, and well, I don't know everything they're going to say, so I'll leave it to them. And then what we're going to be talking about mostly today is language revitalization initiatives around the world that are making use of technology in some way. This is something I've had people ask about several times or express curiosity about how this is going outside of BC, what other people are doing in other parts of the world. This is really just, I'm hoping that some things might spark your interest, might give you ideas about what you might want to do in your own work, might just kind of help you feel more connected to the other initiatives happening in other parts of the world. We're going to talk about a fairly broad range of things. I'm going to go over them fairly briefly, and then at the end I've got more resources to give you if this is something that interests you and you want to hear more about these kinds of resources. But before we get into that, I will stop sharing and I will pass it over to the First Voices team to talk about what's new.
Thank you, Sasha. I will share my screen here. All right. Hello, everybody. I am Bronson. I am a developer on the First Voices team. I'm just going to give a super brief rundown of some of the new features that we've added recently to First Voices, starting with a small one and just kind of going from there. So the first feature that I wanted to showcase is a small one in the widget creation. So if you create a widget and you create a Contact Us widget, let's see, let's just give this one a nickname. We've changed this social media link field. So before it used to be just one field like the address where you would put in your URLs, and they would have to be comma separated. We've just updated this to now support your multiple links, and so you can now obviously have that clear separation between which links are going where. If you have multiple links to multiple sites, we can put that there and create that Contact Us widget for display. And so both of your both of your links will appear here. That's the small little one I wanted to get through. And next is a larger feature. So in the case of audio, very frequently you can have speakers linked to that audio. So now you can search audio by speaker. This is done in two places. So if you go to the media page in the dashboard and to audio, you can now filter by speaker. So let's say I want to find all of the audio spoken by Eva on the dev team. If I say, so you can search for this individual and select, and then it'll show you all of the audio that has this person as a speaker. So Eva is listed as a speaker on these 3 audio files here. And so you can see that on the audio page. This can also be done on your reports page in the dashboard. So when you go to reports, if you search by building your own and you filter by speaker here, let's see. Yes, so it would bring up, every entry that is linked to audio that is linked to the specific speaker. So you can do that as well. So there's 2 places where you can now search by speaker. And I will get to the chat at the end. I'm just gonna do my showcase and then answer some questions. That was speaker select. We've also updated the dictionary detail view. So for example, now we have kind of a clear separation on what media you have. It's just been sort of visually styled more. So we have our translation, categories, related entries. They'll show up clearly labeled. Same thing if you have an audio, your images, as well as a more of a gallery style field for images. So you'd have your one place where your images are, and you can flip between them, whereas before it was they were kind of stacked on top of each other. And then we've done some improvements to the mobile app page. The mobile app page now has a QR code that you can scan to get your mobile app on mobile devices. In addition to the link to the mobile app, we have a nice overview of the features that are on the mobile app, as well as installation instructions directly on the page. So that's kind of an overview of the front-facing features we have. And then on the behind-the-scenes side of things, we've made a lot of improvements to importing entries via batch, so via CSV files, as well as exporting those as well, so you can get your data in the form of a CSV. And for those operations, you can reach out to support@fpcc.ca, as well as Eva, if you have her contact info as well. That's everything I had to showcase, so I will stop sharing. And if there are any further questions, please don't hesitate to ask the team. Although you might want to have that at the end as well, if that's better for your structure.
We can pause for a bit and take some questions.
Okay, sounds good. Yes, Grant.
Hey, how's it going, guys? I forgot. I'm using a Yeti microphone, so I have like a mute button on my microphone and a mute button on the software. So, nice to meet you, Bronson. My name is Grant Watts. I'm from Sishab First Nation. I'm kind of known for these questions, and I was having these out of try to think outside of the box. But overall, I like the way things are going on the site. Things are looking good. Personally, I don't get a lot of exposure to the site anymore because that's left to my team members now. But definitely, they notice that that the changes are coming and that the how do I put it? The autofill functions starting to get a little wonky on them sometimes. Something that we definitely rely on in terms of whatever. And this might be just like a small thing. I'm not sure how hard this would be. And by the way, is the audio okay?
Yes.
All right, perfect. Okay. So considering that a lot of our audio is done, at least in my team, from my team, we have audio that's pretty much the same person, and we're talking like thousands of entries. Instead of relying on the autofill function, is it possible to have like maybe like a checkbox or like a drop down or maybe not a drop down, but I'm depending on how many people have. But like having a function where we can just check a box or just grab a list from like option 1, option 2, option 3, or whatever, and then it just automatically fills in stuff for us. And that way the auto function does, the auto functions are the autofill function is amazing. It helps us, saves time, and when you're dealing with thousands of entries, especially uploading through the site, obviously every second counts. And adding those extra, like 4 seconds or whatever per over 100 entries in a day, that's it's quite a bit of time because we have to manually type back in or we have to look for it, etc. So just for functionality case, I think that could be a good feature to have. I know we have that feature for like certain things like speakers and stuff like that, but maybe with like acknowledgements or like that other area. And I know I've been asking about this feature forever, and I still don't know how hard it is to code in there, but we still need that team member only correspondence that we can showcase like what edits have been made and whatnot. And so far we've only been putting that in notes. Still works, but we still need that team member correspondence, because when you have a bigger team, it's really hard to track who does what. And I have to send an email to Eva and be like, hey, photos have been that's why I was asking about the show reports from specific quarterly to yearly reports to make it easier on the team, because people are like, oh, we don't necessarily have an idea of what's been changed or what's been done, and when we have to report back to you guys, it would be a lot easier if we had access to that automatically. But those are just some suggestions. The team correspondence one is, I would say, it was really high. The autofill function, definitely something that can be, there's a solution for that. And I don't know how hard that would be, but those are just 2 suggestions off the top of my head. Joe, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. For the autofill, just a bigger, more of a clarification that was, like you mentioned, acknowledgements. Which field specifically are you looking for that feature? I'm just making some notes, but yeah, I understand. So things for acknowledgements, I believe speakers already autofills, like you said.
Okay.
But there's certain places, yeah.
Give me just a moment. I'm in my site already. I'm just gonna pull up a random thing. It's gonna be on last modified. By the way, good things. I'm just gonna do a quick little edit here. Just bear with me for like maybe 5. Okay, yeah. So under acknowledgements, that's kind of like where we, again, like my team, like we're dealing with hundreds, thousands of entries, and we've been using acknowledgements and notes as like our team correspondence. The notes is pretty self-explanatory. That doesn't need it, but under the acknowledgements, we do. I think it'd be nice if we had, like, I know, like we have like I don't know, the way it works right now. I guess it works. I understand it, but we've become over reliant on the autofill function from that when we're entering in data. But now, I don't know, like the autofill's perfect, but it's imperfect because if you start typing in something different or something changes, it may or may not default to that, and it might be just a one-off, right? And then therefore our original whatchamacall just isn't there anymore. Maybe we could have it like you could have an extra field called static acknowledgements. So you're just adding an extra field versus changing the current system, which says acknowledgements. We could have like static acknowledgements where you can have like a set list versus under regular acknowledgements, you can still type it out because that might work for other teams versus my team. But that is where it is. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've got those. I've got that down as a feature request, and I appreciate your feedback, Grant. Thank you very much. Yeah, just in the interest of time, I'll go ahead and pass it off to Sasha, so you can continue with the webinar.
If anyone else has any questions for the FirstVoices team, feel free to put them in the chat as we continue, or I think Eva's contact info is also there, so you can send her an email. I will just pull this back up. We're going to get started with some language revitalization work happening in New Zealand, Aotearoa. Te Iku Media is it's a kind of conglomerate of several different language initiatives that mostly center around radio broadcasts. So they have quite a lot of radio shows in the language. They have radio shows that include language that are also in English, local stories, that kind of thing. They seem to be quite prolific. It seems like they've got things going on kind of all of the time. And they're doing a lot of other technology related things in addition to that. They have a find and replace technology for transcription work. They're doing both text to speech and speech to text, it sounds like. And they also function as a communication and media hub for Maori language information and culture information. The radio stations and the other aspects of Te Iku Media are collectively owned by several Maori groups. And I will just quickly show their website. This is their website with the latest hits. This is all of the radio station on the main page, and then they also have a tech section where they're showcasing the latest projects that they have. Some of these are quite interesting. Some of them are specifically for accessibility. They have a synthetic voice on an assistive device for Maori speakers who are maybe non-vocal. And this is the find and replace feature that I was talking about. And there are updates in their dev lab pretty often. So they're kind of a fun, they seem to have a lot of different things going on at different times. Next one that I've been looking at a lot is Aikuma. Unfortunately, their website seems to be down. Hopefully it will be back up soon, otherwise I would show it to you. So this is a set of projects from a university in Australia, but they seem to have been applied in several different parts of the world. The idea behind Aikuma is that this is really simple, low resource language documentation, usually for very remote communities or communities that don't have a good deal of internet access or technology access. They have used some of these technologies for languages in Australia and also in some remote parts of China. They've got several different apps and prototype apps that they're using within this project. One of them is called BOLD, which stands for Basic Oral Language Documentation. And the idea behind this is you record a story, usually just onto a phone, and then you can break that recording into sentences or into phrases, record phrase by phrase, and then transcribe. And it's just an app that makes that process very, very simple. it's very, very scalable and it's very easy to use. So the idea is that this might be going out to teams where not everyone has a lot of technical expertise, or where speakers themselves will be doing this work. And all that it requires is a little voice recorder. It might not be the best quality audio, but it is a way to get quite a lot of information quite quickly in these low resource communities. They have a version of that that's like a desktop version. They also have an app, and they described it as creating a digital audio Rosetta Stone, because you end up with all of the phrases and then like a translation, one-to-one translation, phrase by phrase, not word by word. And this is particularly valuable for unwritten languages, or languages that don't have an orthography, because you don't have to have a transcription in the language if you don't want to. You can just have audio translations and then text in English or in whatever other language. So it's a documentation strategy that's designed specifically for languages that might not be as easy to write down. They also have another project that I thought was very charming, that was about food. It's called Zawa. The idea is, it's just a piece of software that makes this process pretty straightforward, but a speaker or anyone who's doing this project would take pictures of the process of making food, like a picture of the ingredients, picture of chopping vegetables, all of the steps. That becomes a slideshow, and then the speakers can talk about every photo in the slideshow to describe the process of creating the recipe. And then that can be shared with the community or shared on any kind of site, so that not only are you getting the really nice like vocabulary and the verbs about cooking and all of that, but you're also getting this cultural recipe that then gets quite easily shared out. So again, the idea for these is that they are using technology, but they're using very, very scalable, very, very straightforward technology to make things as accessible as possible, which is kind of fun. And I think that's the theme in a lot of the options that I'm talking about today. There are lots of programs and projects for language revitalization that are using very flashy and very fancy technology, and that can be great and that can be really useful. But it's not everyone's reality. And so I think it's also nice to look at technology that can make things very simple and straightforward for communities that might not have that kind of resources. Grant asking, most of these projects are created for iOS or Android, or are they web apps? Most of the ones that I'm looking at, I think, are web apps, and so they should be more accessible, but they're also, some of these are prototypes and are not available worldwide. So I would love to be able to say, here it is, and you can all use it. Some of these are projects that are still in progress, or that are only available in some parts of the world. If it's something that's interesting to you, it would be wonderful to see someone make something like this for languages in BC. When these are available to use, I will send them out to you so that you can see them and make use of them, but that's not always the case. Some of this is just kind of stuff that's only being used in a remote part of China, or something that's still in the process of getting scaled up for wider use. So I don't always have the specs for some of the technical information. The next thing I wanted to briefly talk about is Simi, which is an app for learning Quechua. It's the photo behind it is Audacity. This is just my little photos that make everything look a little prettier. Simi it's quite cute. It's not dissimilar to the kinds of games that you can play on FirstVoices. It's not dissimilar to something like Duolingo, but it's a smaller community-led project, and it's specifically for Bolivian Quechua. It's taught from, the assumption is that the people using it already speak Spanish and are learning Bolivian Quechua, so it doesn't work for English speakers, but it's also only available in Bolivia. It's run entirely by a team of volunteers, it sounds like, and it's working on scaling up quite quickly. But on their website, they've got statistics for how many people are downloading and using it, and they're over 7,000. So although it's a small community, it does seem like it's getting pretty good reach. Right now, it's still on quite basic levels of Quechua. It hasn't scaled up to more advanced learning. I believe that's something that they're aiming for, but they're starting with the basics for now. There's a glossary with some basic words online. The app is only available in Bolivia, but they also have resources on their website that are free to use. They have a board game, which you can download and print, and it's a language learning board game. I don't know how easy that would be to adjust to different languages, or if it's very specific to Bolivian Quechua, but it might be interesting if anyone wants to have ideas for language board games. Their goal is to make the materials accessible, so they're trying to have as few barriers as possible, while still making it culturally relevant to the specific community that they're serving. And they've also got a blog on their site, which is quite charming to read, talking about language learning, talking about other initiatives in the area, and also encouraging people to make mistakes. And I think that's part of the idea behind the app, is that it's very games oriented. And Gail is asking about the site for this. I will show you their website in just a second. All right, so it's just simiquechua.app. And again, for any of the resources that I'm talking about today, I will send them out by email as well, so that you have links to them. And I'll also put them on the knowledge bases along with the recording for this webinar. So if you missed this and you're looking for any of these websites or any of these projects, I will have all of those resources online. So the site is in Spanish. This is their list of downloads so far, and they've got information about themselves. They've got some games. They've got a board game, and they've got their community page with blogs and events. This is the board game that I was talking about that's free to download. So you can get, I think it's probably like a snakes and ladders, or like a fairly straightforward moving across the board game. But they've got all of the cards downloadable, the rules, the materials, and they've got quite a cute illustration style for everything. So that site might be fun to explore if you're interested. Yeah, and a great point from Grant that a lot of apps like this can be created for a community from FirstVoices data. And that's kind of what I'm hoping also, is that this might spark something, or have someone go, oh, that would be really cool to make, and that could be something that you could use for your languages as well. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is actually something some people here might remember. This is from a few years ago. This is a little bit to the side of our main topic for today, but I think it's still really interesting. And if there's anyone who doesn't know about it, it might be something cool to check out. So this is from 2023, and this was a conference or series of online discussions between BC First Nations teams doing language revitalization and Yucatan Maya teams in Mexico, who are also doing language revitalization. And there's a lot of discussion about how technology comes into things, what the different struggles and successes and challenges are that everyone's dealing with. The impetus for this was that, or kind of the framing for this at the beginning of the document anyway, is that there was a Mayan language and culture center in Yucatan that closed due to COVID-19. So all of their operations moved online. And so they were dealing with they had been very, very in person before that, and were dealing with communities who had lack of resources, lack of connection to the internet, that kind of thing, but shifting to those online versions of what they were doing before and seeing how successful that was. They created podcasts, they had conversations about Mayan culture and languages. They became really popular, and interestingly, they found that they were quite popular with audiences outside of Mexico, who were interested in learning more about the language and culture. Anyone who is here might already remember some of this, but we have a document kind of summarizing a lot of what was discussed in this conference. There are sections from the Coyote Cultural Society talking about their language revitalization efforts, and also from Simshpan's Mayak. The Mayan presenters raised some concerns about technology becoming obsolete or about starting to do language work in one technology and then having to transfer into something else, which is, of course, something that comes up all the time as technology changes. They worried a lot about doing anything online because of concerns about losing data sovereignty, having previously done a lot of their work offline and kind of keeping it very closely within community. And how that work being online might be impacted by changes in government and that sort of thing, and how it might go into the future. And they also talked about issues with internet access in their communities. One of the solutions that they had used because of very patchy internet was offline language learning videos or recordings that could be shared with community after the fact. And there was also some discussion from the Hailtuk team talking about their immersion school and the difficulties they've had around space and funding. And I will also just briefly show you this document because it's quite comprehensive and it's good fun to read if you're interested in hearing more about this, or if you weren't there when this originally took place. So this is a write-up about this conference, with introduction, with quotes from different people, with information about how the different groups are doing their work, the issues that COVID created. So I can also share this if anyone's interested in reading about that work and the similarities between the groups. Another initiative that I heard about this a little while ago, and it's something that I found really lovely, and I think I don't know how applicable it would be in a BC language context, but I don't think it's unapplicable. I think that it could work in some communities, and it would depend on a variety of factors. But this is a process called auto documentation that is currently being used to pretty great effect with the Amazigh languages in North Africa. It's a very democratized form of language documentation. And the idea behind it was that language programs all over the world deal with unstable funding and funding cuts and budget cuts and limited resources, as everyone knows. So this was a way of ensuring that language documentation can continue even with essentially $0, just using resources that people already have access to. So this is for this project, there is a collectively owned YouTube channel that anyone within this very broad range of people and communities can upload videos to. And the idea is that anyone who can speak any Amazigh language will just record themselves on a smartphone doing literally anything. Singing a song, lighting a fire, going about their day, essentially like vlogging or talking to the camera, just having a conversation. It can be very casual. It can be very polished. It doesn't really matter. And then all of those get uploaded to a collective YouTube channel so that they're easy to find and easy to watch for people who are in that community, who are learning the language. These are not necessarily carefully curated language learning resources, and they're also not necessarily particularly high quality recordings. The reason that it's been working for these languages is sheer quantity. They have enough speakers and they have enough people that they can create lots and lots and lots of recordings. So it's not necessarily going to be really carefully recorded or really carefully explained language resources, but it's just having this this big collective bank of information that people can contribute to, that they can watch, and that's not going to go anywhere. This is not a perfect solution. This does not work for everyone. It requires a fair number of speakers to make a really big collection of videos, of course. Anyone could do it, even if you just had one person, but to have this kind of very large corpus, you do need a solid number of speakers who are still, using a language on a daily basis. It's also very much a public-facing way of doing language documentation. I think in this case, the idea is that people are uploading their own videos of themselves. So if they've decided that whatever content is in the video is public and is okay to share, they can do that. I don't know about solutions for people who don't want to be as public with speaking their language or who are talking about more sensitive topics. Maybe there could be unlisted links or a private YouTube channel or something like that for those kinds of resources. But the idea for this is that these are all things that can be widely shared. In their corpus, they have a lot of songs, they have stories, they have recipes. And if you're interested in this, there is a really excellent talk explaining how auto documentation works and the successes that they've had from a language conference in Berlin that happened in 2024, I think. I will also send out the link to that YouTube video. It's about an hour long, and it's by one of the researchers who's been working with Amazigh communities to put these videos out. I'm going to pause quickly and answer any questions before I talk about some of the other resources that exist. I know I went through those very quickly, so is there anything you'd like to hear more about? I am not working on any of these projects. I'm not necessarily an expert on them, but I will do my best. And if I can answer your question, I will do my best to research it and get an answer back to you and email that out to everyone. Grant.
Perfect. Sasha, that was amazing, by the way. Good job. The research there is pretty comprehensible. I'm actually really interested in that North and South conference you talked about. Definitely something that I'd be pushing to go join, because quite essentially you've encompassed a lot of what I've seen at a couple conferences that I went to that revolved around AI and like low resource documentation and whatnot. I think at the end of the day, the most important thing that you encompass at the very end there is that we just need to get stuff out on recording. You just got to record it. Doesn't have to be perfect, as long as it's there, because once it's no longer there, it's no longer there. Other than that, I would highly recommend doing more reports on something like this, because it's really interesting to see what's happening around the world. I had very fortunate enough that I got to see what's happening to a certain degree around the world, and even before this whole AI boom in language happened, I was very fortunate to see get a glimpse at what other people were doing, and that also includes other language groups in Canada that were dealing with AI and language. And in fact, St. Shochen's building their thing for AI, and it's completely working great for them. I managed to have a chat with them. Things are going good. And it always seems like where I was on the curtails of St. Shochen. They're the OGs after all. But at the end of the day, though, all the data that we all have and everything, like I said in the chat, everything that we're doing it's a good platform. And I liked how you talked about the different platforms coming and going and whatnot. And I like how a lot of things are starting to become a lot more open source and a lot more like friendly in terms of like what format you should have your data in. Anyways, I just wanted to make those comments. Thank you so much, Sasha. That was amazing.
Yeah, of course. I know it was a very quick overview, and this is a very small set of examples. There is actually a ton of work happening. There's a lot of other options and resources as well. Was there anything in the chat that I missed? Okay, just thank you. Any other questions about any of these? I'm happy to go into more detail if I'm able to about any of them. And I will send out all of the links to those so that you can explore them as well. I do have something interesting to get into some more resources that exist. This is something that I came across relatively recently, but I think it's meaty. There's a lot to dig into with this if it's something that you want to learn more about. So I'll just pull this up.
Just while you're doing that, Sasha, I just wanted to chime in and say things like that auto documentation project. Sasha was pointing out how it was designed with a particular context in mind and a particular use in mind. But I'm always keen to encourage people to maybe think differently about the tools that are out there, and think about different use cases that you could see them having some value in. So, for example, if you're running language classes that are remote, This might be a way for people to submit assignments, or offer something up. Like we're going to do a poetry contest or a short story contest, and everybody can do their submissions using something like that auto documentation tool. So just kind of thinking about different ways where these tools can still provide value, even if it's not exactly what the people that devised them had in mind.
Yeah, totally. And also things like the Ikuma project, where these are prototypes that can't really be shared. The ideas are still pretty straightforward to apply. Like if you were interested in the idea of, documenting a recipe in that way with a slideshow that people talk about, that would be fairly straightforward to do. If you just take pictures during a recipe, make a little PowerPoint, and then hit record and have someone kind of create little recordings for each section of that. So my hope is that not necessarily that I can give you a link to the specific resource that you can use, but that it can be, something that you can think about more in the context of your own work. David.
Yeah, good morning. I was wondering with that auto documentation, is it possible for you to show us an example of what that looks like? Or is that going to take too much time?
I can see I have the video where they talk about it here. If I just 1 second.
I can look it up afterwards. I'm just curious what kind of things, or what the quality of it is, and so on.
Well, I think the quality is very variable because it's something that that people can do, depending on their own resources. But I am just pulling up the video here, and I will put the link in the chat. The video that I'll link you, which is the discussion from the conference about auto documentation, includes some examples of it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think there's an example of some cooking, and there's a section where people are weaving. So hopefully this will give you an idea of what it's looking like for them. What it looks like for them might not be what it would look like in your context. It really would depend on what people are interested in, what they want to talk about, what they have access to. So that's a longer video, but if you skip through it, there are sections where they show videos that are part of this project. But I would encourage you to watch the whole thing because it's a lovely talk.
Okay, I can do that. Yeah, that's great. I'll check out your link.
Sounds good. And I will also send that out by email and put it on the knowledge base as well. Incidentally, that's part of a conference where they recorded all of the talks for that conference, and a lot of them are really interesting. So I'd also encourage you just to check out that channel in general. There's quite a lot of people talking about the work that they're doing, not necessarily specifically related to technology. So I didn't, include all of them in this webinar, but they are all talking about language revitalization, and some of them have really specific or unusual projects that they're doing. There's like a newspaper that's being written in Hawaiian. There's people talking about different archiving practices that they're doing. There's people doing like an analysis of botanical terms in a language as the language changed. They're really interesting. Some of them are really, really short, like 10-minute talks, and then there's like hour-long full addresses. So I would, that's one of my things that I do when I've got a little bit of extra time, is just like check out a 10-minute video from there, because they're really interesting. So that link, and then anything else on that channel, especially from that conference, I highly recommend. And I will show you some other resources here as well.
Thanks very much.
No problem. Okay, so I spent a bunch of time finding all of these different projects that I was talking about individually. I was like researching these, I was emailing people, and then I found this document that has hundreds more examples in it. Once I'd already found all of these things. So this is from a few years ago. Some links may be outdated, but for the most part, I think they're still pretty solid. This is a huge document specifically about digital initiatives and technology use for language revitalization and Indigenous languages. And it's a big, hefty document. It can be a lot to look through, of course. But if you are going to look through it and you don't want to just read the whole thing start to finish, because it's 185 pages, what I would encourage you to check out is not necessarily these beginning sections where they talk about methodology, but if you go into from part 6 onward, you will find these sections, inspiring stories and case studies, and that comes up. That these case studies come up over and over again. You'll see them again later on. There's more here, case studies, and all of those are like this webinar all over again. So you can go into, just looking for some of the ones that might be interesting here. There's tons and tons and tons of them. This one is interesting. So it'll tell you where the project is from. It will often give you links. Some of these sites may not still be current, but a lot of them will be. And it'll tell you what the project is. This is so much fun. This will show you, like, you can listen to their songs on SoundCloud, but this will tell you about the community, about the language, the people involved. It's got quotes from the people involved, and will tell you about the impact of a particular project and give you additional resources. So I think there's like 100 case studies in this document. Really, really fun to look through. And some of them may be quite familiar. There are some sections about First Voices in this, and they get most things right. Again, this is a few years old. We're now supporting 36 languages in BC, so some of the statistics may be a little bit out of date, but you can take a look at their summary of events. I think First Voices is actually mentioned on here a few different times. There's a fact sheet, and they've also got unrelated things, or not unrelated, similar ideas in other countries. I think my understanding of the First Languages map in Australia is that it's not dissimilar to the language map that we have on the First Peoples Cultural Council website that shows the map of BC and which languages are spoken where, although I think this one may be more integrated with more information about each language. So this has also got the First Voices knowledge base. I'm not sure why that's listed under the Australian one, but that's fine. I'm glad it's in there anyway. So this one is really, really fun to look through. There's so many things happening in different parts of the world. So I would encourage people to check that out if this has been interesting, because there's so much more out there. This is like a tiny, tiny sample of the work that's being done. There's lots of stuff that I didn't get the chance to talk about. Like there's a project to make speech-to-text more functional across Firefox in different languages that's soliciting recordings of people speaking different languages so that they can train speech-to-text on a greater variety of language sounds and a lot more voices. There's initiatives in Nigeria, creating like digital handbooks for under-resourced languages that people can take home and teach to their kids. There's a lot of work happening all the time. So I think that in terms of learning more about this, that document is the most comprehensive thing that I have so far found. And even that doesn't have everything. It doesn't have everything that we've talked about today, but it's a great place to get started. So I've gone through this a bit quicker than I thought I might, but I will stop again for questions and any comments or anything that you are interested in learning more about. And then we might end up wrapping up a little bit early today. Grant.
Oh, everyone's just gonna have to get used to my voice. I think you should have chucked in what James went over doing that online language collection tool that he showed me. That was pretty comprehensive, and I think that's still a thing that can worth looking at, because the idea here is we're just trying to make language data collection a lot easier, and especially in low resource zones. And that was the name of the game, because like you guys said, it's not everyone's got like the top of the tier stuff, and in some cases all anyone has is just a phone. And that's really all you need is just a phone. And then data collection is most important now, because once the data is there, you can take all the time you need to go back and format the data for what you need it to be. At least in Ishot's case, that's exactly how we're approaching language right now, because we're at the final stages of having a fluent elder that's willing to work with us, and we're getting closer and closer to that final day. But until then, we're diligently working, and we have hundreds and hundreds of audio that is just waiting to get edited by yours truly. But the most important thing though is just you're thinking about doing the auto documentation. Just all you got to do is just put your phone down and record. On the flip side, phones are exceedingly very, very the power of, like, I have an iPhone. Siri is really good at, like, if you just take a voice recording, it will transcribe the English, and then it'll give you the best guess at what it thinks your language is, which could be a very useful tool, because you'll be able to identify where your language speaking parts are at any given time, versus having to scrub through the entire audio trying to figure out, we were talking about the fridge, and then all of a sudden the elder busted out a word for, like, the bread inside, and I can't remember when she or he spoke about that. And thankfully, if you do a language record, or if you just do like a voice recording through your iPhone, it will auto transcribe the English parts of it, and possibly even be able to give you an idea of where to look for the language bits. And I'm pretty sure eventually, over time, it's going to start recognizing certain things. So I assure everyone here, in the world of AI and the world of language in general, it's starting to push forward faster and faster. I know we're hitting a point where even the Pope put out a thing talking about the morality of AI, and how that's not being stopped, and how we have to stop and have a look at it. And like you're talking about the audio generation and and text generation of AI is getting advanced. We have to find a way to utilize that the best for us, especially since in a lot of these cases, a lot of those apps and stuff are becoming a bit more low resource intensive. And then of course, just keep it basic, keep it simple. And but yeah, James, I think you should definitely have another look at that web app that you showcased. So
Yeah, I actually was able to go out and visit with the folks from Sildi, who are the ones who developed that last month. They were putting on a bit of a workshop, and they have made some updates to the tool that I am happy to share around. I will say, well, I can just show if that's all right. Let me see. Do I have things where I want them? Yeah. Okay, so this is the folder of all the stuff, and they have somewhat updated the look of things a bit. They've got their cool Dragons Lab logo up there now. It actually does have this name, Dragon's Gold. They really, really, really love their acronyms. So it still has roughly the same tools that I was showing before: a sentence interpreter, a photo narrator, photo discusser, and a storyteller. They're functionally two different tools instead of four, where you've got a photo prompt in the narrator or the discusser, or a text prompt in the sentence interpreter or the storyteller. And that's fine. Still working on getting the back translator tool up and running, where the prompt is a sound file. So you could, especially for something like a photo discusser, where you've got two people chatting about something, this is all freeform. And so the back translator would allow you to plug in the sound file that's generated with that photo discusser, where two people are speaking together in their language, and then you would be able to back translate it into English. So just expedite the translation and transcription process a bit. So still trying to figure out how to get that up and running. But So the look of it is a little bit different, and that's lovely. But the real changes. Oh, I will actually. I'm just going to put this out there. Um, if anybody can put into the chat um, who Gordon Shumway is better known as, you'll win a toaster oven. So I'm just going to put that out there. While people are scrambling to put that in there, um, I will show you where the more important changes are, and that's in the back end. So when I showed this last time, each one of those components had a separate JavaScript file that had all the instructions on it, and you had to go to each different one if you wanted to make any changes. Now it's a bit different. So what you have instead are these user profiles. And so for each user profile, so what I've done is opened up Gordon Shumway's user profile, and you can see that it kind of lumps all the different tools together. So here is all the information you need for the storyteller, and it has all the prompts that the computer or that the program needs in order to generate the new prompts are all in here. So you could just add a line in this section if you wanted to do some more. Do to do. And we'll throw this one out there for Sasha. What do you plan to do for Halloween? And when you save it, it will automatically update on this end. So, oh gee, I should have a look and see where I put that. That was the storyteller. So I will go to storyteller, and same deal. You have to click to turn on your microphone, allow it, and then it gives you all the prompts. And we should now have. Oh, look at that! What you plan to do for Halloween is in there now. So the editing process is a lot easier than it was. And it is still a little bit unwieldy. There are still some things that you need to be aware of if you do want to deploy this. I think there are certainly use cases that could be really helpful. Maybe as a documentation tool, it's not as powerful as in the BC context as it is elsewhere. I think for most of us who are doing documentation work, it is possible to sit with the elder and do that work in person, in which case you don't necessarily need to do something like this. But it does still, give you chunked up sound files. They are, I think they're WebM files, so not the highest resolution, so not exactly archive quality. That can be changed to record as a WAV file, which we would definitely recommend. The reason they went with that much smaller sound file is because it's meant to be very portable. So you're able to send this out, send the program out. If you have somebody who's making trips around with little thumb drives, doesn't take up a lot of space. They can bring it to the speaker, get it loaded up where that speaker is, and the information can be saved down to that thumb drive and brought back. So that's kind of the objective in keeping things very small and tidy. But as I say, it's not exactly going to yield you archival quality recordings. Some of the fun things that have come up in conversations around other use cases include things like an assessment tool. If you're doing a language class and you want your students to demonstrate their ability to have a little conversation, you could have this set up so that two of them are talking to each other. If you want to go through a storybook and see, okay, if you're given the visual prompts, can you tell the story? That might be a way that you could use this. So just different, just thinking a little bit outside the box, as I was talking about earlier. Yeah, so that's kind of just a quick little update on that. I'll stop sharing. Did we get any winners in our toaster oven? Oh, Amber, you were the first to chime in with Alf, and Char, you were right there. Grant, I'm sorry, it's not an elf, so you don't get a toaster oven. Yes, Gordon Shumway is Alf's legal name. Anybody from the 80s might remember that. Yeah. Does anybody have any other thoughts or questions about that tool or any of the many things that Sasha was presenting? Questions or comments? Any thoughts about those use cases or interest in any of those things? So if you are interested in exploring that Dragon's Gold tool, whether for documentation or other purposes, please do let us know, and we'll happily set you up with a copy and have some conversations around it. Yeah, Grant, please.
God, guys, how come everyone just waits for me to put my hand up? I think it's time for First Peoples to host their own conference based around AI and computer and low resource stuff. That way I don't have to travel to Japan or Hawaii to go join those conferences. Hey, come on, James. I know you got the power, man.
Oh, dude.
Come on.
I am gratified by your impression of my power, but what I would say is we are okay, Char. We'll get to you about that. We are still trying to sort through our approach to AI. We are very cautious around it. We recognize that it is the next technological wave, and we can't ignore that. We do have very deep concerns about data sovereignty at the very least, and understanding what the risks are for communities in providing all of the, when you think about the bigger companies that are working with AI, they are profit-driven companies.
That's absolutely correct.
They're not there for, they're not there for you.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that they don't have things that are worthwhile, but it's just you really have to be very clear-eyed about what the objectives of the people bringing these tools in are.
That's correct. My only comments to that are basically, how many people in your organization utilize AI for everyday tasks that seem mundane? Like, for example, I'm currently using AI to build domains, because domain work is kind of like where we're at right now. And I'm not a linguist. I'm a techie, right? But on top of that, like I've obviously used AI to help me build very, very, very basic, not AI driven platforms, but able to build the very basic scaffolding for like transcription software that will listen to your audio and transcribe it. And then but it's just, I'm just curious, like how, like if like since language is our work, and AI is being spearheaded into it more and more, and not necessarily as an AI chatbot per se or AI whatever, but AI is being used to develop programs and develop the very things that we're looking at. And AI is being used, especially on Facebook now, right? Facebook's using AI. AI's in Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Google, of course. AI's in Microsoft. We're on Teams, and Teams uses AI. If you use Adobe, Adobe uses AI. AI is everywhere. So it's just a matter of being forward thinking, because no matter what we do, AI is going to be touching us.
For sure.
And of course, before long, AI is already on YouTube everywhere, and people are making money off of making AI generated videos. By the way, could totally work in our favor in terms of like everything's already being created. We're just going to reap the rewards of that. But of course, at the end of the day, it is up to us to decide what is useful and what is not, obviously. So, but I think it's probably about time that like FirstVoices our First Peoples Canada decides like, hey, we got to really look at this and like maybe we could like. I really like
Oh, I
what
assure
Sasha.
you we are. I
Yeah, I
assure
liked
you
what
we
Sasha
are. Like,
brought it, right?
yeah.
Sasha touched on a lot of cool things, and I think that's I think definitely we need to have a very nice thing or whatever, like possibly even bringing in other teams to like do like a, I don't know, like a 3-day Zoom thing where we're like, hey, like here's our presentations or whatever, like a conference, like, and I mean, I mean, I enjoy going to like Hawaii and Tokyo for these conferences that when we're talking about AI and stuff, but it'd be nice to have one in our own backyard as well. So just an idea. It's just something that's on my mind more and more.
Cool. Yeah. We'll tap you to plan that one for us, Grant. Michael, you got your hand up too.
Yeah, Haklim Wujo. Good morning, everyone. Just in terms of curriculum development, excuse me, and AI, and leaving the whole thorny issue of data sovereignty aside, we had a really interesting experience because we're in the process of building a curriculum right now. And someone took the vocabulary and plugged it in and asked for AI to generate a story for us to use for some exercises. And we took the story and I sent it off to a colleague of mine who I've developed a lot of curriculum with. And I said, what do you think? And he said, stop using AI to generate your stories. They're so inauthentic. And I thought it was fascinating that right off the top, he knew it was AI because every word from the vocab list is in the story. And that's not really a very authentic story. And there's no context that connects that story to the community. It's just some story that AI made up. So leaving the whole side of sovereignty, the whole data sovereignty thing aside, I think we really have to question how much use in terms of curriculum development for things like creating stories and whatnot. We want to use it and how much it actually becomes an impediment to learning instead of a tool to learning, which is interesting because we're building a digital curriculum, but there are some parts of it that we're actually excluding using AI. So it's just food for thought, James and Sasha, and thank you for the presentation this morning. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Michael, for bringing those points up. I mean, it is really, there is no, that genie's out of the bottle, right? The AI genie is out of the bottle. We're not putting it back. But you're right in characterizing it as a tool and raising that point that tools have good uses and things that this is not good at, not good for. And that does need to be very, very deeply embedded in any conversations around how how we're meant to approach it.
Yeah, no, look, you're right. The genie is not going back in the bottle. And to try to do that, that's an exercise into futility. So I'm not suggesting that. But it is interesting that we start to believe it's all things for all things. And we start to find out that AI is not all things for all things. It has some great purposes. It's super helpful in some things, but it's interesting where I thought it would really be a lot of help. It turned out not to be. So again, just food for thought.
Thanks for sharing. Yeah. Gord.
With the language stuff and text to speech, I've been doing a little work with the NRC's Every Voice program that looks promising. I've come across a text to speech program called Speech Note, and it's designed around sort of data sovereignty. It's more focused on European and Eastern languages, but it allows you to download speech models and do all the speech processing on your own computer. And I just was looking at the developer, and they may be able to do something where if a nation or community develops a voice model, that they could use this with that program, and it sort of maintains the data sovereignty and privacy. So I'm actually was just talking with the developers of Every Voice to see if it's something that we can use. So that it might be a tool that other people want to use, I'll pop the tool into the comments. But again, the issue with this is in my it's a Linux only program at this point, so it's not going to be available to most users. But we're going to I'm reaching out to developers to see if it's something that we can use in these communities.
Awesome. Thanks, Gord. Yeah, we'll check that out, and please do keep us posted. It sounds pretty cool.
Yeah. So yeah,
I'm guessing our
say,
dev team is pretty keen to see it too.
Yeah. So they say at this point, if there was someone had a language model and we're familiar with the program, it's something that an experienced IT user could do independently. But they said if there's an interest in it, they could try and make it a little easier to work with.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks.
Cool. Thank you. I am just going to present quickly one more time. I've got a couple of last things that also come from the big UNESCO Digital Initiatives document. And this is really just to kind of end on a high note, because there's a couple more things in here that I think are neat little projects that I wanted to show you before we sign off. So first of all, one of the things in this big UNESCO document is memes in Quechua. I can't read Quechua, so I don't know what this meme says, but there's a whole account that they've been putting out memes in Quechua, and there's a few examples and an explanation of how this has been useful for engaging youth and helping with those initiatives. There's also a project listed in this document about localizing Wikipedia. This is a language from Quebec, I think, and the entire site, as you see, has been translated, and there's more pages being added. So that's a fun language resource to make using the internet more functional in a language that you're learning or a language that you already speak. And this is something that as far as I understand, anyone can do with Wikipedia. So if you're interested in creating your own Wikipedia page where everything's translated, that's an option. And this is a little app that's also listed in the document, Singlistics, which has First Nations and Inuit songs and helps with pronunciation and learning songs in not very many languages, but a few different languages. And it has quite good reviews. People seem to like it. So those are just a couple more that I saw in the document that I thought were kind of nice. I wanted to end on a nice note for those. And again, I will send out all of the links for all of these and make sure that everyone has them. And for the people in the chat who said that they're interested in learning more, I will make sure that those resources get out to you as well. Okay, we're just a couple of minutes early. We have time for one or two more questions if there are any. And if not, thank you all for being here.